It's been 10 years. You start to forget the things you should remember. And you can't stop remembering the things you should forget. We've always had the power.
Well, it has been a minute since I've used this camera, but I wanted to start recording again. I guess I never really knew what to record before, and I felt kind of stupid just recording stuff because I felt like no one cared. But over time, I've started to realize, like, people really just wanted to see what I was doing. There's a few things I want to talk about because it's been a little while. A lot has happened. I'm getting, you know, I think the last time I made a YouTube video, I was like mid to low 200,000 followers on Insta, and I am now at just under 300,000 at the time of posting this. I just hit 297,000 today. So to anyone who came here from the Instagram, I really appreciate you. And to anyone who has already been subbed to the YouTube and you're coming from this, thank you for being here, because the last time I uploaded a YouTube video was a long time ago. So thank you. And, you know, I'm going to do lifestyle stuff still for sure. But, you know, for right now, I just kind of want to talk. I feel like that's, you know, you don't really know who I am and you don't know how I act. And a lot of people think I'm like scary, big and scary, but like I'm not. I'm only a little big and I'm not scary. And I don't want people to really think I'm scary. I think people get the wrong idea of me and just kind of judge me by my looks, which is just kind of weird to me. People just like to assume how I am in real life because of the way I look, because I have piercings or because I have tattoos, and they just think I'm just some stupid kid. Which, you know, it's whatever. It doesn't bother me, but you know, I figure for the people who care to know anything about me, this will give you a better idea. But I just did an hour on the Stairmaster, and I hit chest and shoulders and some triceps. At this point in my fitness journey, I am changing a lot, and I'm, you know, getting to a point where while I do still care about the way that I look, you know, I'm focusing more on trying to be content with what I have achieved and not trying to, you know, just bash myself for not being more, which is kind of what I've always done. I've always just sort of, you know, been so hard on myself for not looking as good as everyone else. And, you know, I'm not trying to necessarily bash my physique, because I'm, you know, I'm not the biggest, but I know I don't have a bad physique. But I've always been so hard on myself with that. Like, you know, if I'm not super lean, I just feel like I look hideous. But that's just sort of a me thing with how I've always seen myself. I've talked about it on my Instagram story a little bit before with, like, you know, my past insecurities and whatnot. But, like, you know, I've just never been super content with the way I look, from, you know, messing with my hair subconsciously. As you can see, this whole video I've just been messing with my hair. And it's just kind of been part of who I am, just feeling like I always have to look a certain way. Not even to impress others, I almost feel like I know in my head, I don't know this as a fact, but like in my head, I'm just subconsciously telling myself that, like, I'm not worth, you know, as much if I don't look good, which is just stupid. And I know I shouldn't feel that way, but it's kind of like, you know, it's something I've always dealt with since I was like 15 or 16 specifically. Just because of old problems, personal problems, and, you know, going through depression didn't help, because I got really isolated and looked so much at social media and started to feel like, you know, if I don't look like all these people on here, that I'm just not going to be worth anything. And, you know, I got to this point where I would, you know, I realized I was a little bit overweight, and my goal for a while was actually not to gain any muscle. I didn't want any muscle at all. I just wanted to be as thin as possible. Like, I would see these pictures of these people who, you know, these guys who would have the flattest chest and, like, I just wanted that. I wanted to be so thin, and I wanted my chest to be flat under my shirt. You know, I didn't want to look very like, I didn't want to look big. I was so insecure, and I felt so small mentally that I wanted to make myself look small physically, so that I didn't stand out to everyone, because I felt embarrassed. Because back then I really did care about what everyone thought of me, because I thought that, you know, no one would appreciate me or respect me if I didn't look good. And now it's not as bad. That's still something I'm getting over. And believe it or not, social media has helped. While I do, you know, I do still pay attention to my appearance because of social media to an extent, because, you know, it's kind of just drilled into my head at this point that, like, I have to look, you know, decent. Just because you know, I feel like it's kind of my job at this point. Which I guess that's not true. You know, I know people wouldn't just all unfollow me if I just got, you know, a little bit ugly. Some people have, but, you know, who cares? I just try to enjoy what I have. I have a great opportunity, and I try to utilize it for better things. But, you know, the reason I bring all this up is just because I feel like I've noticed this so much more in the recent months, that I just get so many messages and so many comments that, you know, people just are in a terrible mindset, and they're so insecure with themselves, and they don't know what to do, and they ask me how I escaped it. And, like, while I do want to help, it's like, I would rather motivate you by you just seeing what I've achieved and not knowing how I achieved it. Because, you know, what I've achieved is definitely something to be proud of, and that's not me gloating, but I know that it's not something everyone has done. But the way I got to it was just not healthy. For a while, it was, and then it wasn't, and then it was. But for most of the time, especially at the start, you know, I just wanted to look as good as possible, and in my head I just told myself over and over again, I don't care if it's the unhealthiest way I could do it. I don't care if my hormones drop. I don't care if I have to eat nothing. I just want to look as good as possible. I don't care what it takes. And I just starved myself, and I did cardio constantly, and I lifted forever, and I got, like, no sleep. It was just not good. And if anything, it just, you know, it didn't really give me sustainable results. And now that I'm doing it healthier, it's been better. You know, I'm definitely, I think I've always viewed happiness in, you know, a specific way, where I feel like it's not really, you know, it's not just something that's like, you reach it and then you're there. I think it's sort of like a constant thing, because my life is good and I'm appreciative of what I have right now. But I'm not happy, but I'm not unhappy either. Because I feel that happiness in a way is comfort, and I don't want to be comfortable. Because every time I've ever gotten comfortable is when I fell back down a hole and, you know, just despised myself and let bad things happen to me. And so I do whatever I can to not stay comfortable, even if it means not being happy, quote unquote, whatever you consider that. But I do love my life. It's not perfect, and I'm not a perfect person, and there's still a lot that I have left to achieve, but I've also achieved a lot. And that's what I'm trying to begin appreciating more, is just, you know, realizing how much I have achieved at such a young age and just being proud of it. Because, you know, within the past year or two, I really started to realize that, you know, life just goes so fast, and it, day by day, I'm getting older, and, you know, time's not slowing down. So I feel like I kind of have to just stop wallowing, is that a word? Wallowing in my own pity, whatever the words are. You know what I'm trying to say. I don't just want to sit there and rot. And I've really started to appreciate random little things like just going on walks and taking care of my diet as best I can, while still enjoying myself and eating a cookie or something sometimes, and not feeling terrible about myself for it. But I think that there's a lot of people who experience the same thing as me, and I don't want them to find happiness in the way I did. Because, while I did get here, I learned a lot about myself, but I also tortured myself in the process. Even when you guys saw me last August, when I was really lean, if you've been following me for a while, you know I used to work at Walmart, and I quit that job and started doing social media full time. And I was really lean. That was the leanest I've ever been. Even now, I'm still not as lean as I was then. But I was pretty much starving myself. Like I still ate, but I ate the bare minimum. Like I was just eating pretty much nothing, doing whatever I could to get there. Like I just didn't care about my health really. I looked great, but it was not good for me, And it's just one of those things that I feel like you can achieve happiness, quote unquote, for some period of time, but the period of time that you sustain it depends on how you reached it, in my opinion. And when you reach, looking great by starving yourself and, doing everything the wrong way, you are not going to be happy for very long. And, while I did end up looking very good and I had ab veins and my face was super lean, I ended up just rebounding and just eating so much food. I ate so much food. I gained all the weight back. I gained more weight and I got bigger than I was before I even did that cut. I was getting really big and I was unhealthy. My gyno was flaring up. I had constant stomach aches, and I just felt horrible about myself. I wasn't really taking care of my basic hygiene. I've always done stuff like shave my face just for the sake of feeling cleaner, and I wasn't even doing that anymore. And I feel like there's just certain things that you have to pay attention to, because even if it's easier, because it's faster when you just do things the quick way and you just stop eating and you just do a bunch of cardio, you can maybe achieve what you want to look like. But if you just sit and you just listen to these guys on Instagram who just keep telling you lean is law, and you just keep following their advice, just like put the fork down, just drink black coffee and just get on the treadmill, like maybe the harsh motivation helps you, and I don't even mind it from time to time, but it's like, if you actually do that, it's not going to be sustainable. You have to find an actual way to do it, and you have to actually go easy on yourself while still challenging yourself. Obviously, that's the name of the game. But like, if you're just torturing yourself, it's not going to work. I promise you. It's not the way to do it. But if you do struggle with motivation, how I have, then I promise you, do not do what I did. And when I say that I don't want to give you advice on how I got here, it's not because I'm gatekeeping or something, but the advice I can give you is indirect, and it is that, while I can give you the advice on stay in a calorie deficit, lift hard, do your cardio, like, the best advice I can give you is be patient and don't look for shortcuts. If you are looking for shortcuts, you will only end up hurting yourself. And I've seen it happen to so many people. And the rebound after just, pushing yourself to your limits and forgetting about everything else is going to really damage your mental health. And it's something I'm still recovering from. Like, getting that lean, I compare myself to that look every day. How I looked last August, I compare myself to that every single day. So don't do what I did. But I do love helping people, and I don't want people to achieve what I achieved in the same way that I did. I want you to achieve it in a better way and learn from my mistakes so that you don't have to make those mistakes. But I really appreciate everyone who reaches out to me. I get so many nice messages, and I get so many, and I'm sorry that I don't always respond to them, but I appreciate them so much. I get emails, I get DMs on Instagram or TikTok, and it's just, I really do appreciate it. I screenshot them and I save them in my phone, and I like to look back on them from time to time. It means a lot to me that people, they've never met me or spoken to me, personally, but they still just want to make sure I'm good, and that just means a lot to me, because at the end of the day, I've said this so many times on my Instagram and whatnot, but like, I really am just a random guy. There's nothing really special about me. Like, when I blew up, people thought like, when I would post about my diet, they were like, oh, you gotta be rich or something. Like, they would make all these assumptions about me. And like, when I first got all these followers, like, I worked at Walmart. I ate what you ate. I still live with my mom, bro. It's, I'm not above anybody, and comparing yourself, it's just gonna kind of destroy you. So, don't compare yourself to me. Use me as motivation if you want to. If you want to have a physique like mine, use me as motivation. It'll help. But I love everyone who's gotten me here. I'm not gonna say the line where like, I'd be nothing without you guys, but it's true. And most people are not gonna watch this whole thing, but there's gonna be more entertaining things soon. It's not just me yapping. I'm trying to stop being so lazy and get into the good stuff. So I appreciate everyone so much, and if you need anything, reach out to me. Maybe I'll answer. Shoot me an email. That's where I see everything most. You can send me an email. I'll see it. I promise. Even if I don't respond, if you just want me to see something, if you want me to know something, I'll see it. I'm gonna give you a posing session to lighten the mood. I don't know how I look right now. I was just, after that workout I just did, I was looking pretty good. I'll tell you that. I'm getting leaner for sure. But this is as of the 17th of October, for anyone wondering. Well, that was a bit underwhelming. Let me make up for it. Hold on. I have to make up for it, because if we end on a terrible pose and then you guys just think I'm ugly, then this is the last Vicinity video ever. Well, that's all I got for you. I'll be leaner soon. Let me know if you like stuff like this, and maybe I'll do it again soon. And let me know what else you want to see too. I'm heading out. Appreciate you guys. Good night. I still don't know what to say at the end of the good night.